Welcome back, Sunshine Fam. And yes, this is going to be a different type of presidential highlights video. It's not going to be talking about Biden, because I'm not going to be doing those videos anymore. It's not going to be talking about key events in a president's term of office. It's going to be talking about something completely and totally different. Now, I want to start out this video by first telling you my name is Chloe. For those of you that are new, welcome. And I want to start out this video by saying, which I've been trying to do in my last few videos, and every time I get into a video I forget to talk about it. I don't know if you guys ever click in the upper corner, like up here, where it says CC, which is closed captioning, to read the text on the screen. Every time I sniffle, it puts that I snort. I don't snort. Every time I say the word Carolyn Levitt, it spells it incorrectly. Every time I say the word Sea Dog, they spell it incorrectly. Sea Dog is the letter C with a dash and D-A-W-G. So I looked into if somebody is actually typing out those captions, and it said it is automatically generated using my voice. So it's not somebody that's actually typing it out. It's automatically put on the screen. But I find it quite funny when I say a word and they totally get the word wrong. So I wanted to address that. Maybe you want to start doing that and look at the closed captions and notice that they do it wrong. So let's get into today's video. We all think of our first president as being George Washington. While in the Constitution, he was our first president, there were actually 16 other presidents prior to him. Now, I want to thank letter C-D-A-W-G, Sea Dog, for notifying me of this information. I had no idea. I, like probably most of you, thought that George Washington was our first president, but he wasn't. So we had presidents that go back to 1774, I think. Let me make sure that, yeah, 1774. And back then, they were called the presidents of the Continental Congress. And we had 6 of those that went from 1774 to 1779. And then they changed the title of it to Presidents of Confederation Congress. And we had 10 presidents during that time. Now, one president served 2 times under both titles. So I will get into that. So, what is the Continental Congress and what is the Confederate Congress? I think I'm going to sneeze. Hopefully not. If I sniffle, please type sniffle. Don't type snort. So the Continental Congress went from 1774 to 1781. Which I don't know why they did it that way, given my research, but it acted as the revolutionary de facto government during the war, while the Confederation Congress from 1781 to 1789 was the official legal government established under the Articles of Confederation. The key difference was legal authority. The former managed the revolution, while the latter operated under a weak ratified constitution. The key differences was the timeline and role. The Continental Congress, first and second, organized the response to Britain, declared independence, and managed the war. The Confederation Congress, created upon the ratification of the Articles of Confederation in March 1781, acted as the authorized federal government, managing the end of the war and peace negotiations. Legal status. The Continental Congress was a provisional body with limited legal authority. The Confederation Congress was the official governing body of the United States of America. Power and authority. The Continental Congress lacked formal taxing power, but acted through necessity. The Confederation Congress had formally limited powers. It could not tax, could not regulate commerce, and required unanimous consent from states to make changes. Maybe we need to go back to that given our current state of this country. Continuity. While they represent different legal frameworks, the two bodies often used the same name, had many of the same delegates, and acted in a continuous fashion. Essentially, the Continental Congress was the government during the war's peak, while the Confederation Congress was the government that succeeded it under the first official U.S. Constitution, which was replaced in 1789. Very interesting information. So, prior to looking up the differences, some of this information I might be giving you might be a repeat of what I just said. So before George Washington took office in 1789, several men served as President of the United States in Congress assembled under the Articles of Confederation. John Hanson is often cited as the first to serve a full one-year term, 1781 to 1782, after the Articles were ratified, though others held the position earlier. Presidents under the Articles of Confederation, 1781 to 1789. Following the full ratification of the Articles of Confederation, these men served as presidents of Congress. So this is the second group. John Hanson, Elias Boudinot, Boudinot, Thomas Mifflin, Richard Henry Lee, John Hancock, Nathaniel Gorham, Arthur St. Clair, and Cyrus Griffin. The key context, role differences. These presidents led the Continental Congress, a legislative body, rather than an independent executive branch like the modern presidency. Earlier presidents, before the Articles were ratified in 1781, others held the title of President of the Continental Congress. Are you guys all playing that one line from Hamilton in your head when I say that? I know I do. Including Peyton Randolph, John Hancock, Henry Laurens, and John Jay. Samuel Huntington, he was serving as president when the Articles of Confederation went into effect in March 1781. While these leaders held the title, George Washington was the first president elected under the current U.S. Constitution. So I found this a very interesting topic to talk about. So I thought I'd go into a little bit, and if you'll give me just a moment, we're going to start at the beginning here. I'm going to start today's with only the presidents of the Continental Congress. And I'm not going to give you their key events. I'm going to talk about the actual person. And I will show you pictures. So Let's start with a gentleman by the name of Peyton Randolph. He served from September 5th, 1774 through October 22nd, 1774. Here is a picture of our very first president. That is Peyton Randolph. So let's talk a little bit about Peyton. He was born, well, let's see, we'll go into Wikipedia here. Most of these things I'm going to take from Wikipedia. He was an American politician and planter who was a founding father of the United States. Born into Virginia's wealthiest and most powerful family, Randolph served as Speaker of Virginia's House of Burgesses, Burgesses, President of the first two Virginia conventions and President of the first Continental Congress. He also served briefly as the first President of the Second Continental Congress. Okay, so why do I have him in here twice? Oh, because, yeah, he was. So he served as the first and the third President of the Continental Congress. So the first time he was in office from September 5th, 1774 through October 22nd, 1774. It even shows, okay, so he was married to a woman by the name of Elizabeth Harrison. He was the cousin of Thomas Jefferson. That's interesting. His father's name was John Randolph. Doesn't look like he had any children. He went to the College of William and Mary. And let me see. Here is a picture of his signature. Hopefully that'll clear that up. There's his signature. And that item underneath it is quite interesting because it says it is the Virginia Colonial Currency 1773 signed by Randolph and John Blair Jr. Sorry, it just takes my camera a second to get the lighting correct. So that's pretty interesting. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about these people. Just give you little snippets of it. Now his second term in office, when he was the third president of the Continental Congress, was from May 10th, 1775 to May 24th of 1775. So he didn't serve very many days, like 14 days, which I find interesting. So he was preceded by a gentleman by the name of Henry Middleton. Now, you think of the name Middleton, and some of you might be thinking Kate, as in William and Kate, the Prince and Princess of England right now. I looked that information up to see if he is a relative or an ancestor of Kate Middleton, and it says that there is no known relationship between Henry and Kate. So, Henry Middleton was the second president of the Continental Congress from October 22nd through 1774 to October 26th, 1774. He was born in 1717 near Charlestown, province of South Carolina. He was married 3 times: Mary Baker Williams, Mary Henrietta Bull, and Lady Mary Mackenzie. Apparently he liked the name Mary because he was married to 3 different Marys. His grandson was named Henry Middleton. He had 12 children, including one named Arthur. His parents were Susan Amory Middleton and Arthur Middleton, and he was a planter and public official. So that was Henry Middleton. So now we've got to go back to Peyton Randolph. And I'll give you just a little more information about him. He was born in on September 10th of 1721 in Williamsburg, colony of Virginia, and died on October 22nd, 1775 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, British America. So he was then succeeded by a very famous person by the name of John Hancock. Oh, you know what? Let me go back to Henry and see if it shows his. It does not show his signature on here. Okay, sorry about that. So now we go to John Hancock. We all know that name, don't we? So John Hancock. Oh, I didn't show you a picture of Henry either, did I? I'm sorry. So here's a picture of Henry Middleton. Sorry, I'm a little bit disorganized today. So that's Henry Middleton. So now we go back to Peyton, and now we go to John Hancock. Okay, so John Hancock, this is the picture that they show of John Hancock. He looks like a very serious guy. So what do you mean? Okay, hold on. He held different offices. So it shows that he was the 4th and 7th president of the Continental Congress, but the 7th time he was actually a part of the Confederation Congress. So the 4th president of the Continental Congress, he was in office from May 24th, 1775 to October 31st of 1777. So he was in office for 2 years. He was born January 23rd of 1737 in Braintree, Province of Massachusetts Bay, British America, now Quincy. Died October 8th, 1793 in Hancock Manor, Boston, Massachusetts. He was married to a woman named Dorothy Quincy. He had 2 children. It doesn't list their names. It says in her relatives, Quincy political family. His alma mater was Harvard University, and of course we all know what his signature looks like, but I'll go ahead and show you anyway. Come on. So there's his signature. And he was one of the people that signed the Constitution. The U.S. Constitution, which I doubt very many people have actually read all the way through. Okay. So then we go to the second time he was in office was in the Confederation Congress, and that was from November 23rd, 1785 to June 5th, 1786. So when he first served, he was succeeded by a gentleman by the name of Henry Lawrence. Okay, so you're thinking Lawrence, Hamilton, John Lawrence. Any relation? Actually, there is. He was the father of John Lawrence, who was a friend of Alexander Hamilton from the play. So here is a picture of Henry Lawrence. They all seem to look off to the side, don't they? And people back then never really smiled, although he does have a little bit of a smirk on his face. So it shows that he was the president of the Continental Congress. Let me make sure that this is right. Okay, November 1st, 1777 through December 9th of 1778. And let's see. Personal details. He was born March 6th, 1724 in Charlestown, South Carolina, British America. Died December 8th, 1792 in Charleston, South Carolina. His wife was Eleanor Delamere Ball Lawrence. They had 13 children or more, including John Lawrence, Martha Lawrence Ramsey, Henry Lawrence Jr., and Mary Eleanor Lawrence Pickney. And it shows his signature. So let's show you his signature. That's his signature there. These are quite interesting facts about our founding fathers, isn't it? Okay, so he was succeeded by a gentleman by the name of John Jay. Now, John Jay was also mentioned in Hamilton one time, where they were talking about the some kind of articles that Hamilton wanted to write. So here is a picture. Wow, he looks skinny, but the clothing that he's wearing makes him look like he's a big guy. He was wearing a really big shirt that day. Holy cow! Maybe that was the fashion back then. So that's John Jay. He had been the first Chief Justice of the U.S., nominated by George Washington himself. But going down to the 6th President of the Continental Congress, he held office from December 10th, 1778 through September 28th, 1779. So he was the last president under the Continental Congress. So he was born December 23rd of 1745 in New York City, died May 17th, 1829 in Bedford, New York. He was part of the Federalist Party. Didn't say that under any of the other people. He was married to Sarah Livingston. They had 6 children, including Peter and William. His relatives say Jay family and Van Cortlandt family, Cortlandt. Education, King's College. I'm going to get a scholarship to King's College. Okay. And his signature, he had a BA and an MA. So here's his signature. Very interesting. Very easy to read. Okay, so now I think I'm going to end this one here because I've got 10 other people for the Confederation Congress. But in this one, I want to include something that has to do with an incident that happened, last week, 2 weeks ago? Let me see here. Okay, so remember when they had the what'd they call it? I got Confederate and Continental in my head, and that's Correspondence Dinner, where Trump was part of that. And that guy came in and ran past security and had an attempted assassination attempt on Carpathia and some of the top officials that were there, according to his manifesto. I don't think they've released that, have they? Anyway, I wanted to find out, because this was the 3rd assassination attempt on Carpathia's life. He is the one that has had most attempted assassination on his life of any of our presidents. However, there have been plots to assassinate other presidents that were higher than that, but they were never carried out. So I looked that up. So several U.S. presidents have faced multiple assassination attempts or plotted attacks, with Gerald Ford and Barack Obama experiencing the most documented instances, including numerous plots or actual attempts within short periods. Other presidents with multiple targeting incidents include Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Jackson, and Bill Clinton. So presidents with multiple documented attempts or plots. Gerald Ford had 2 attempts. He survived 2 separate assassination attempts in California within 17 days of each other. In September 1975, both carried out by women Lynette Squeaky Fromm and Sarah Jane Moore. Barack Obama, multiple plots, faced a high number of threats during his presidency, including at least 11 major plotted incidents that were investigated and thwarted by authorities. Bill Clinton, multiple plots, targeted multiple times, including a 1994 plane crash attempt on the White House lawn and a 1996 plot by Al-Qaeda to bomb his motorcade in Manila. Abraham Lincoln, 2+ attempts. Survived a foil plot in 1861, a shot fired through his hat in 1864, before his successful assassination in 1865. Andrew Jackson, 2 attempts. Survived a failed attack in 1835 when a gunman's pistols both misfired, the first attempt on a U.S. president. Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, 2 attempts. Survived being shot in the chest in 1912 while campaigning and faced another plot in 1902. George W. Bush, I don't remember hearing about that one, 2 attempts. Targeted by a grenade that failed to detonate in Georgia, 2005, and a plot involving a 2006 incident. Key historical context. Failed attacks. Many plots are foiled before a shot is fired, such as the 1909 plot against William Howard Taft. Injured survivors. Theodore Roosevelt, 1912, and Ronald Reagan, 1981, were shot and wounded but survived. I don't know why they weren't on the other list. Successful assassinations. 4 presidents were killed. Lincoln, 1865, Garfield, 1881, McKinley, 1901, and Kennedy, 1963. But so far, Carpathia is the only one that has had 3 attempted assassination attempts. Sorry. Okay. So that's today's video. I didn't want to talk about key events because I'm sure, you know, like I said, the one guy only served for 14 days, so how much could happen in 14 days back when this country, before it even got started, really. So I will make one more video like this, talking about the presidents of the Confederation Congress. And one of them I'm just going to make mention of because it's John Hancock, and I just told you about him. So if you want to find out any information about the presidents of the USA, starting with George Washington, I did a very long series that was 4 years in the making, that some presidents I had, because I didn't have editing software and I had a different camera where the battery would die after 18 minutes. This camera goes for an hour. People like FDR, I had to put his key events in, I think, like 7 videos, because he was our first and only president that served more than 2 terms. And I know I've discussed that in other videos recently, that any president from George Washington to FDR, the way the laws were written, any of those presidents could have served more than 2 terms. But FDR decided to change that. So he served for 4 terms. He didn't put in a whole 4 years in his last term because he died shortly after taking the oath of office the 4th time. He died within a few months, I believe. But those, you can find those under my playlists, which this one is going into as well, called Presidential Highlights. And I talk about the key events that happened during the time the president was in office. Now, one president we had in office for literally 1 month. That was it. And then he died. When he was giving his speech on the day that his inauguration happened, he got really sick and he never recovered and he died a month later. Don't remember what that one was. I don't have any of the notes anymore. I gave those to Silver Star. And so she has all those notebooks with all the notes in it. So I'm hoping that you find this very interesting, like I did. I had no idea that we had presidents prior to George Washington. And as a matter of fact, while I was doing this research last night on these presidents, I realized that one of the presidents, I don't remember which one it was because I didn't write it down, but it said that he was either preceded or succeeded by Benjamin Franklin. And I'm like, wait a minute, he was never a president. And I even looked in the list. His name is not on the list of either of these lists, but Benjamin Franklin was the president of a state. So apparently, way back in the day, we had presidents of certain states. Maybe now they consider them governors, but back then, Benjamin Franklin was a president of, I think, the state of Pennsylvania. I can actually look that up while I have you on here. Let me see. Benjamin Franklin. Okay, let's go to Wikipedia. Where was he? So he was the 6th president of Pennsylvania, which I find interesting. And he had 3 vice presidents during that time. He was in office for 3 years. Yeah, he was succeeded by Thomas Mifflin as the president of Pennsylvania. I didn't know that they had presidents in states at that time. So when we say that our money has dead presidents on it, I guess Benjamin Franklin was a president, but just not of the U.S., which I find very interesting. I always thought, why is he on our money when he was never a president? But there's proof. He was a president of Pennsylvania, which is interesting, with three different vice presidents, I suppose, for each year that he was in office. I don't know. They ran things way differently back in those days. So this year we celebrate the 250th birthday of this year. And I'm starting to see products like, next time you go to the store, if you drink Mountain Dew, if you go to the cooler, you will notice that Mountain Dew has a new name. It is now called American Dew, or Diet American Dew. And I've noticed that Diet Pepsi has changed their label. They're still called Diet Pepsi, but their label now has red, white, and blue on it. And I'm thinking it has to do with the 250th birthday of our country. So, happy birthday, America, 250 years. I remember when we had the bicentennial in 1977. I was 10 at that time, when they had a big to-do about, the 200th birthday of America. I think they called that the bicentennial. And so, yeah. So I know you guys seem to want to watch more videos about politics and stuff, so I thought, okay, I'll give you another political one and give you information of things that you may not have even known about, because I didn't know. So, presidents of the Continental Congress, and the next video I put out will be the presidents of the Confederation Congress, and there's a few more of those before we get to George Washington. There were times in the Confederation Congress where there was a lapse in dates by months, by several months. Or, well, in one case it was just by several days. Yeah, so from Thomas Mifflin to Richard Henry Lee, there was several months where there wasn't a president. So I wonder who ran the country during that time. So yeah, I'll make another video of those guys. It'll be a little bit longer because there's 10 of those people. And I'll give you the same kind of information I gave you here. I'm not going to do key events or anything, but I'll tell you about the man that was president and all of that. So hopefully you enjoyed this. And my foot is getting a little bit better with this medication I'm on. The swelling has gone down slightly. It is getting a little bit easier to walk. I do go back to work next Tuesday. So we'll see how that goes. Standing on my feet for 8 hours a day is not going to be fun. But anyway, thank you for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed this. And look for another video before I go back to work. I have a couple more videos I do want to make. I know I keep promising you that I'm going to make another one in my series called Who Am I? And I've got the information here ready to go. It's going to be finishing up on my dad's side of the family. And then the next one I put out will be on my mom's side. So I'll hold up different flags for that because I have all the flags of my nationalities that I am from my ancestors. So lately all I've been working on is Germany. So, because that's where all my ancestors on my father's side came from, is Germany. So, thank you for joining me today. Hope you learned a little bit of something. You can always look these people up yourself and do your own research if you want to find out more information about them. And we'll see you guys on the next one when I talk about the Confederation, our presidents of the Confederation Congress. And then I'll make another Who Am I video, hopefully within the next several days before I go back to work on Tuesday. Because right now I really have nothing going. The only other thing, I know I keep doing this. The only other thing I'm going to tell you is the other day, C-Dog, C/DAWG, ended up with a flat tire the other day. So he had to have his car towed to a local tire place to get his tire fixed. And he's been staying the night with me for a couple nights because he's been using my car to get to and from work. So he's got my car today. He gets off early this afternoon. He's going to come back here, pick me up. We're going to drop him off at the tire place. And then I'm going to come home and he's going to get his tire fixed and then he's going to go home. So then I go back to just relaxing. So, it's a foot problem. All right, I'm going to shut up now. This would be a good time to shut up. Okay. Thanks for joining me. Hope you learned something, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a sunny day.